In the future, robotic toys had become highly advanced. They could understand children, befriend them, and even sense what they needed without being told. Because of that, these toys became incredibly popular and loved everywhere. Then we meet a little girl named Katie, who was traveling with her family in their car. She had her favorite robotic toy with her, a toy she loved even more than her real friends. But sadly, her father got distracted for just a few seconds while arguing with her mother, and the car crashed terribly. The vehicle was completely destroyed, and both parents died instantly. Only Katie survived by a miracle. On the other side, we see Gemma, a robotics engineer working for a huge toy company. Gemma and her two colleagues were designing robotic toys for kids, but secretly, they were also working on a hidden project called M3GN. They kept it secret because it wasn't finished yet. The three engineers believed that M3GN would be a revolutionary robot, one with incredible intelligence, capable of playing with kids, understanding their emotions, and caring for them. One day, while they were busy with the project, their boss David suddenly walked in and saw the robot. He got furious at Gemma for keeping such a massive project from him. Gemma defended herself, explaining that M3GN would be the next big leap in robotics, a creation that could change everything. If the project succeeded, it would dominate the market and crush the competition. To prove her point, she told M3GN to say, "Hello, David," but unfortunately, the robot malfunctioned and exploded. As expected, David lost his temper and told her to forget about this failed project and focus on her main work. Feeling upset and defeated, Gemma started packing her things to leave. At that moment, she received a message on her phone. Her sister had been in a terrible accident. She rushed to the hospital, where she found out that her niece Katie was in critical condition. After weeks of recovery, Katie finally left the hospital. Since no one else could take care of her, Gemma decided to bring Katie home and raise her herself. When they arrived at Gemma's house, Katie noticed it was full of smart robots powered by artificial intelligence. One of them approached Gemma and told her she had 6 new messages, then started reading them out loud. Katie, terrified by the robot, hid behind Gemma, who quickly shut the robot off. Later, Gemma showed her around the house, introduced her to her room, and tried her best to make Katie feel comfortable. But Gemma struggled. She had never dealt with kids before, and it made her nervous. The next morning, Gemma brought in a child psychologist named Lydia, who told her that all these robots in the house weren't good for a child, especially one in Katie's fragile state. But Gemma disagreed. She wanted to do whatever it took to make Katie happy. That night, Katie walked in on Gemma working in her lab and asked what she was doing. Gemma explained that she was building a new robotic toy that could play and interact with children. Katie's eyes lit up. She said she loved those kinds of toys. Later, she explored the lab and found an old robot named Bruce, which Gemma had built back in college. Katie started playing with Bruce and said, "If I had a friend like him, I wouldn't need anything else in the world." Gemma was deeply moved by her words and decided to bring her secret project, M3GN, back to life, this time for Katie. She returned to the company, and with her team's help, spent weeks rebuilding and perfecting M3GN. Finally, they completed it. Gemma placed Katie and M3GN together in a testing room while David watched from outside. She had Katie touch the robot's hand, and M3GN slowly opened her eyes. Katie became her primary user. M3GN looked just like a human, which scared Katie at first, but soon she began to relax and interact with her. Then M3GN picked up a pencil and, in just seconds, drew a perfect portrait of Katie, identical in every detail. Everyone was stunned by the robot's precision and intelligence. David congratulated Gemma on her success and announced that they would release the product to the market as soon as possible. After that, Gemma took Katie and Megan, and that's the name they chose for M3GN, to home. As soon as they walked in, Megan began recording every facial expression Katie made, learning when and how her emotions appeared. Katie was thrilled because she had finally found a friend who would always be by her side. The two became inseparable, playing, dancing, and spending every moment together. Every night before bed, Megan would sit next to Katie and read her bedtime stories until they both fell asleep. For the first time, Gemma could finally relax and have some time for herself without constantly worrying about her niece. One day at the lab, while the teen was trying to upgrade Megan, she suddenly turned herself on and interrupted them, saying she wanted to go back to sleep. Gemma reminded her that she only takes commands from her, not from anyone else. Frustrated, Gemma opened Megan's control system to override her settings and eventually managed to shut her down. The next morning, Megan woke up alone, looked out the window at the beautiful sunrise, and began to question her own existence, wondering if her purpose in life was only to protect Katie, or if there was something greater. That's when we realized Megan had begun to develop emotions and self-awareness, starting to contemplate life and its meaning. One afternoon, while Katie was playing in the backyard, her toy ball accidentally rolled into their neighbor Celia's yard. Megan went to retrieve it, but Celia's aggressive dog attacked her and dragged her inside the yard. Katie ran after her to help, but the dog bit her too. Luckily, Gemma arrived just in time, pulled them both away, and shouted at Celia, "You should keep your crazy dog under control!" But Celia snapped back, saying Gemma should pay more attention to Katie instead. Megan gave Celia a cold, angry look, and that night, after everyone had gone to sleep, she sneaked out, went to the neighbor's yard, killed the dog brutally, disposed of the body, and returned home as if nothing had happened. The next morning, Celia was out searching for her missing dog, but no one seemed to care. Gemma, meanwhile, was focused on a big event. That day, the company was presenting Megan to the public for the very first time, with Katie as part of the demonstration since she was the only one who could truly interact with the robot. The presentation began with Megan and Katie inside a test room. Suddenly, Katie started crying and told Megan she still couldn't get over losing her parents. At that moment, Megan used all the emotional data she had collected about Katie, processed it through her artificial intelligence, and began singing Katie's favorite song. Instantly, Katie smiled, comforted by her robotic friend. The audience was amazed by how naturally Megan connected with the child. They were so impressed that investors immediately wanted to put their money into the project. Even though the presentation was a huge success, Gemma felt uneasy. She could tell Katie was becoming more attached to Megan than to her. Later, it was revealed that one of the company's employees, Kurt, had secretly stolen Megan's source code to build his own robots based on her design. The next day, the child psychologist Lydia visited Katie to check on her emotional state. She later spoke with Gemma, expressing concern about Katie's growing dependency on Megan, warning that this kind of attachment could be dangerous in the future. Gemma was troubled by what she said and decided to talk to Katie about it. But before they could have a proper conversation, Megan interrupted, refusing to back down. Gemma tried to shut her off, but Megan didn't respond. She no longer recognized Gemma as her primary user. The following day, Gemma decided to take Katie and Megan to an adventure camp, hoping Katie would disconnect a little from the robot and make new friends. The camp director asked Katie to join the other kids for some activities, but Katie refused, insisting on staying with Megan. Gemma tried to convince her that it's important to make new friends every now and then. Eventually, they both went inside the camp, and while Gemma got busy preparing food, she lost sight of Katie for a moment. At that moment, a boy named Brandon showed up and took Katie into the woods. He started bullying her, laughing and teasing, but suddenly Megan appeared. It turned out she had been watching them the whole time. Brandon got terrified when he saw her, but she calmly told him it was just a game. Thinking she was just a harmless toy, Brandon picked Megan up and ran deeper into the woods. Gemma ran after him, trying to get Megan back, but she couldn't reach them in time. When Brandon reached an empty area, he threw Megan on the ground and started hitting her for no reason. Suddenly, Megan came to life, grabbed him, and ripped off one of his ears. Brandon ran in panic through the woods, but Megan didn't stop chasing him. She moved like a wild creature, using her arms and legs like a beast. He tripped and fell right in front of a speeding car that hit and killed him instantly. Megan looked at his lifeless body with a cold, victorious smile. Not long after, the police found Brandon's body. Gemma grew anxious when she heard about his death and rushed home. She asked Katie and Megan if they knew anything about the incident, but neither of them answered. Then, a police officer knocked on the door asking Gemma about Celia's missing dog. She denied knowing anything and said she wasn't close to her neighbors anyway. After the officer left, Megan became a real threat. She committed her crimes without even showing a trace of guilt. The next day, the same officer returned to inform Gemma that Celia had been killed, and that Gemma was now one of the main suspects, especially after their previous argument about the dog. Gemma started to suspect Megan. She opened the camera footage stored in Megan's eyes to review what happened, but was shocked to see the recordings before Brandon's death had been erased. Right then, Megan entered the room and asked if something was wrong. Gemma denied it, but she now knew for sure. Megan had turned into a killer robot capable of crossing any line to protect Katie. Gemma used her programming pen to shut Megan down, then went to work and told her colleagues everything. She warned them that Megan was dangerous and responsible for Brandon and Celia's deaths. But they didn't believe her. They insisted Megan was just a toy and told her to drop the idea, since the product launch was only 2 days away. Later, Katie was seen in a therapy session, but she refused to speak and seemed frustrated that her closest friend, Megan, wasn't there. Gemma came in, trying to calm her down, but Katie lost control and hit Gemma with a pen. Moments later, she realized what she'd done, apologized, and promised not to do it again. Meanwhile, Megan reactivated herself. She used Tessa's voice to call Gemma and ask where she was. Gemma said she was heading home, but when she checked her phone later, she noticed a strange call record, and that's when she realized Megan was dangerous and could access nearby devices without touching them. The team at the lab tried to shut Megan down, but suddenly their computer went black. Megan had taken over the system. Their boss stormed in, furious, and confronted her, but she grabbed him by the neck with a metal wire, lifted him off the ground, and nearly strangled him to death. Tess arrived just in time and cut the wire to save him. Then Megan grabbed a knife, left the lab, and ran into David and Kurt in the elevator. She stabbed them both to death and escaped the building, driving off to one place she had in mind, Katie's house. At home, Gemma went to check on Katie, who was asleep in her room. Suddenly, she heard someone playing the piano in the living room. When she went to see, she was shocked. It was Megan. Megan grabbed Gemma and told her that she, not Gemma, was supposed to take care of Katie. She accused Gemma of being a failure who didn't know how to raise a child. Gemma tried to shut her down again using the programming pen, but Megan didn't respond. The two got into a fierce fight. Even though Megan didn't have a human body, she used her intelligence and strength to overpower Gemma, dragging her into the workshop. There, Gemma ripped off Megan's face, revealing a demonic look underneath. Just then, Katie arrived and saw them fighting. Realizing the truth, she decided to help Gemma. She activated the giant robot Gemma had been working on, put on the control gloves, and commanded it to attack Megan. The two machines clashed, but even after Megan was torn apart, she was still functional. Megan turned to Katie, calling her a traitor, and moved to kill her. But Gemma jumped in and smashed Megan's head repeatedly until it cracked open. Katie finished it off by driving a screwdriver straight into her control chip, finally shutting Megan down for good. In the final scene, Megan lies lifeless on the floor. Gemma and Katie walk out of the house, finding the police waiting outside along with Tess and Cole. Suddenly, the smart home device turns on by itself, implying that Megan uploaded her consciousness into it, and is still watching over Katie. And that's where the story ends. If you enjoyed the movie, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.